Now, what was it?
Goodbye, Uncle Mongeorge. I love you.
I get it.
Do not come with me to the Casbah.
Reed, it's Magneto's turn to play with the giant spring.
Dear, dear, dear. Poor Dum-Dum.
Okay, Mommy.
Uncle Scooby? Hi, I'm Scrappy-Doo.
Remember your favorite childhood cartoons? You know, the ones that made after-school TV and Saturday mornings feel like magic? Yeah. Now remember the characters who nearly ruined those cartoons? Today we're counting down 10 of the most annoying cartoon characters Gen X had to suffer through. And because we've been through the parenting trenches too, we're throwing in one modern menace who still haunts us. Spoiler alert, he's bald, he whines like a smoke alarm with a dying battery, and he's coming in hot at number 2, so stay tuned. Also, the end of his name rhymes with 2. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel, but let's get into it with number 10, Brainy Smurf, the Smurfs. We're starting our countdown with the Smurf who single-handedly ruined Saturday mornings for know-it-all kids everywhere. For those who somehow missed it, the Smurfs ran on NBC from 1981 to 1989, a show about tiny blue creatures living in mushroom houses, constantly being chased by the evil wizard Gargamel. Then there was Brainy Smurf. He was smug and insufferably annoying, and his voice was like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Papa Smurf says we Smurfs have to pull together as a team. After all, a little hard work never hurt any Smurf, right?
The worst part is that he never seemed to notice that absolutely nobody was listening. Not even Grouchy Smurf, who at least had the decency to be openly irritated by everything.
The weather is constantly changing.
Precisely why I brought this umbrella. You can never be too careful, I always say. Better safe than sorry, or to phrase it in more common terms, wait for me!
And the kicker was he didn't even know everything. He was wrong a lot.
Maybe you should wait till Handy's here, Brainy.
Don't be silly, Clumsy. I know exactly what I'm doing.
At least we had the satisfaction of seeing him regularly get punted like a tiny blue football. That wasn't cartoon violence, that was justice. Even as kids, we understood that some people just needed to be yeeted into the forest to think about their choices. Brainy Smurf was the cartoon version of that one kid in class who reminded the teacher about the pop quiz or homework. You know the one. They probably grew up to write lengthy corrections in YouTube comment sections, and yes, we see you. Go ahead, tell us what Papa Smurf really said. We're ready. Number 9, the Wonder Twins, the all-new Super Friends Hour. Moving from the blue buzzkill to intergalactic letdown, we have Zan and Jaina, the Wonder Twins from the Super Friends. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin, and Aquaman teamed up to fight supervillains and save the world, and they would have been just fine. But someone decided to add the Wonder Twins to the roster in 1977, and everything went downhill. Thanks to the magic of syndication, 80s kids got to experience their special brand of annoyance through endless reruns. Here's their deal. They're aliens from the planet Exor with shape-shifting powers, but, and this is crucial, they can only activate said powers by touching fists and shouting, "Wonder Twin powers, activate!" Jaina could turn into any animal, which sounds cool until you realize Beast Boy was doing the same thing but better. Zan, meanwhile, could transform into any form of water or ice, which sounds potentially powerful until you see how the writers used it.
Wonder Twin powers, activate.
Form of a seagull.
Shape of an ice gondola.
Shape of an ice gondola? Really? While Zan technically could have become a tidal wave or a massive ice giant, the show writers seemed determined to have him transform into the most impractical water-based objects imaginable. The twins were also relentlessly cheerful and wholesome. While other heroes had edge and complexity, the Wonder Twins felt like a walking PSA about teamwork and sharing your feelings. Oh, and their standard mode of transportation? Jaina would become an eagle, carry their pet space monkey Gleek in her talons, who would in turn carry a bucket containing Zan in liquid form.
Shape of an eagle.
Form of water.
The Wonder Twins were clearly added to make the Super Friends more relatable to kids, but they mostly just made Superman and Wonder Woman look like they were babysitting exchange students from a remedial superhero academy. God, I hate these characters. Number 8, Orko, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Comic relief sidekicks can make or break an action cartoon. Unfortunately for some of us, Orko broke it, burned it, and then accidentally turned the ashes into a confused butterfly. For those who missed it, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe ran in syndication from 1983 to 1985. It was a show about Prince Adam transforming into the most powerful man in the universe to defend Castle Grayskull and the planet Eternia from the evil Skeletor. It was epic fantasy adventure at its finest, with sword fights, magical powers, and Battle Cat. Do you guys remember freaking Battle Cat? You're all set for classic He-Man. Ready to watch the most powerful man in the universe lay the smackdown on Skeletor with his sword and Battle Cat? Well, instead you get Orko, a floating bathrobe with a hat, a voice that could shatter crystal, and a 100% failure rate on every single spell he ever attempted, and I do mean every single spell. Remember when he made He-Man's sword accidentally disappear?
My sword, it's gone.
That happened while he was trying to clean his room with magic. Oh, what about the time he summoned a demon because he wanted to play with someone?
I'm tired of playing alone. Maybe he wants to play.
Because clearly opening a portal to the underworld is a solid strategy for making friends. That's why we don't play with Ouija boards. Orko had one job, and that job was magic. Instead, he'd botch every spell he cast, and chaos would follow. To be fair, he did help once in a while, like when he helped He-Man get his memory back.
Now hold the sword up and say, by the power of Grayskull.
By the power of Grayskull.
But most of the time he got in the way. He still has a loyal fan base. Some folks even found him endearing. But for me, he was less master of the universe and more mascot of magical mishaps. And here's the kicker. Recent He-Man reboots have tried to fix Orko by either killing him off heroically or turning him into a robot who thinks he's a wizard. When modern creators feel the need to completely reinvent your character, that's basically admitting the original was broken. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But hey, if you're Team Orko, sound off in the comments and make your case. You're still wrong, like all the people that defend Jar Jar Binks. Number 7, T-Bob, M.A.S.K. Every cool 80s action cartoon had the same formula. Awesome vehicles, high-tech gadgets, and one absolutely mandatory annoying sidekick to appeal to younger viewers. T-Bob was M.A.S.K's entry into the why did they think kids wanted this Hall of Fame. M.A.S.K ran in syndication from 1985 to 1986 and was a show about a secret task force using transforming vehicles and weaponized masks to fight the criminal organization Venom. It had cool motorcycles that turned into helicopters, cars that became tanks, masks that shot lasers. It's literally everything a kid could want, and then they created T-Bob. In a show packed with transforming motorcycles, flying cars, and secret agents with weaponized masks, T-Bob was a robot nanny with social anxiety who transformed into a scooter. A scooter. Not even a cool scooter, just basic transportation that your little sister might ride to elementary school, or the time that you tried to tail whip it and it cracked your ankles.
Huh? Oh, no. I'm getting out of here.
His voice sounded like someone put a kazoo through a blender, and his primary function seemed to be screaming whenever anything remotely dangerous happened.
What did you say?
His arms were tired. He's a robot. Anyway, he was designed as comic relief, but often disrupted the tone with slapstick antics and over-the-top cowardice. It felt jarring, like someone dropped a laugh track into a Jason Bourne movie. We wanted high-octane vehicle battles, not robotic scooter meltdowns, man. He was clearly designed to be the conscience of the show, the cautious face warning against danger and bringing a little heart to the high-speed chaos, but in practice, came off like that one friend who refuses to get on the roller coaster because they're convinced it's going to collapse. And let's be real, T-Bob screamed toy line filler. His role was to appeal to younger kids, cute, goofy, and marketable. But to older viewers looking for adventure like me, he felt like a liability with a warranty. Number 6, Pepe Le Pew, the Looney Tunes. Alright, Pepe Le Pew has been around since the 1940s, but we Gen Xers remember him from the reruns in the 70s and 80s on Saturday mornings and after-school blocks and pretty much anywhere Looney Tunes content was being recycled. He wasn't everywhere, but we all saw him enough to know exactly who he was. His inclusion on this list might be a little controversial, but hear me out. Even as kids, didn't something about Pepe Le Pew just feel off? We didn't have the vocabulary for it back then, but we knew it wasn't normal cartoon behavior. He had exactly one bit. Mistake a terrified cat for a lady skunk, chase her around Paris while she desperately tried to escape, and deliver what he thought were romantic compliments in a cartoon French accent turned up to 11. Ho ho ho.
Guess who?
Now, in fairness, we didn't hate Pepe as kids. He wasn't screechy, he didn't ruin plot lines, and wasn't turning into a bucket of water. We're looking at you, Wonder Twins. But even then, something about his whole vibe made us squirm. Looking back, it's wild that Warner Brothers kept putting these shorts in rotation for decades. Pepe was basically a preview of every awkward dating experience we'd have in high school, just with a French accent and visible stink lines. And while he usually got his comeuppance by the end of the short, that didn't really balance out the 7 minutes of relentless cartoon pursuit that came before. Pepe has drawn fresh criticism in recent years, not just for the stalker behavior, but for how he leaned into caricatures of French culture. Media scholars have described his act as harassment and cultural stereotyping, and Warner Brothers eventually pulled him from modern projects, starting with Space Jam: A New Legacy in 2021. He has made a few low-key cameos since, but let's be real. Once a cartoon skunk becomes part of a national conversation about consent, he is probably not bouncing back into regular rotation anytime soon. H.E.R.B.I.E, the new Fantastic Four. Sometimes a character isn't annoying because of what they do, they're annoying because of what they represent, and H.E.R.B.I.E represented everything wrong with corporate interference in our Saturday morning cartoons. In 1978, the new Fantastic Four hit NBC's Saturday morning lineup. This was supposed to be Marvel's first family. Reed stretching, Sue turning invisible, Ben smashing things, and Johnny Storm flaming on! Except Johnny was nowhere to be found. Instead we got H.E.R.B.I.E, which stands for Highly Engineered Robot Built for Interdimensional Exploration, or more accurately, Highly Engineered Replacement because intellectual property was entangled. Now, H.E.R.B.I.E wasn't annoying in the traditional sense. He wasn't screeching his own name or botching magical spells. He was something worse. He was a constant reminder that corporate suits had messed with our beloved Fantastic Four. Every time he appeared on screen with his whiny robot voice saying things like, "My sensor's telling me something is not right," or "This does not compute," he was basically a flying memo that said, "Sorry kids, lawyers happened." There's a persistent myth that the Human Torch was removed because networks were afraid kids would try to set themselves on fire. It's a great story, but completely false. The real reason was that Johnny's film rights were tied up in a solo movie deal that never actually materialized, so instead of fire-powered teenage attitude, we got a nervous robot sidekick designed by Jack Kirby in what was actually his final work for Marvel. To be fair, H.E.R.B.I.E wasn't actively terrible. Frank Welker voiced him competently, and he made it into the comics later. He'll even appear in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. But that was precisely the problem. He was perfectly adequate, corporate-approved filler shoved into a Human Torch-shaped hole in our cartoon lineup. We didn't want adequate. We wanted Flame On! H.E.R.B.I.E represented everything frustrating about how the business side of cartoons could mess with the creative side. He was a compromise, and that compromise hovered right there on screen, whining about sensor readings and computational errors instead of gloriously setting things on fire. Number 4, The Great Gazoo, The Flintstones. The Flintstones, another show we watched in reruns, had a good thing going for 5 seasons. Stone Age family, modern problems, dinosaur pets. Simple formula, timeless humor. It started in 1960, but by 1965, as ratings started to slip, some network executive apparently panicked and decided what the show really needed was a smug alien with reality warping powers and zero respect for boundaries. Enter the Great Gazoo, a floating green menace who treated Fred and Barney like his personal entertainment system.
Well, you really learned something, didn't you, dum-dum?
Did I?
He called them dum-dums, manipulated their lives for his own amusement, and generally acted like a cosmic bully with tenure. The worst part wasn't even his condescending attitude, it was how his presence completely destroyed the show's internal logic. I mean, the Flintstones worked because it was our world, just with dinosaurs and Stone Age technology. Gazoo felt like he belonged in the Jetsons, not the Flintstones. He was advanced technology invading a show that was fundamentally about primitive technology. It was thematic whiplash that never stopped being jarring. Plus, only Fred, Barney, and children like Pebbles and Bam Bam could see him, which meant Wilma, Betty, and the rest of Bedrock thought the guys were just losing their minds. It turned every Gazoo episode into a weird mix of sitcom hijinks and who needs therapy energy in a time when therapy was kind of looked down upon. Sometimes the problem isn't that a show needs something new, sometimes it just needs to trust what made it work in the first place, and sometimes it just needs to know when its time is up. Number 3, Godzooky, Godzilla the Animated Series. In 1978, Hanna-Barbera launched Godzilla the Animated Series, turning the legendary movie monster into a kind of aquatic superhero. The show followed the crew of a high-tech research vessel called the Calico as they explored strange phenomena around the world, usually ending up in serious trouble. Then when danger struck, they summoned Godzilla to rise from the ocean and save the day with his signature atomic breath. Sounds awesome, right? But then came Godzooky. This pint-sized kaiju wasn't a co-pilot, he was the comic relief.
He's thinking of flying off somewhere.
No way!
He lived on the ship, mostly hung out with the captain's nephew Pete, and did his best to help, which usually meant causing a mess, getting captured, or crashing into something while trying to fly with his stubby little wings. The show never made his connection to Godzilla totally clear. Some called him a nephew, others a cousin, but whatever the case, the big guy tolerated him but never seemed thrilled about it. Godzooky couldn't breathe fire except once temporarily. He mostly belched smoke rings and roared loudly when the grown-ups needed backup. He was meant to be cute, but he quickly became the show's biggest source of secondhand embarrassment. Think Scrappy-Doo with wings and a foghorn voice. He didn't ruin Godzilla the Animated Series single-handedly, but he definitely made it harder to take seriously. The Calico crew faced sea monsters, giant ants, and island-sized disasters, and we were stuck watching a baby kaiju cough up smoke and knock over lab equipment. Godzooky wasn't just an annoying sidekick, he was a warning siren that said this monster show has been sanitized for your protection. Number 2, Caillou, from the TV show Caillou.
I want to go!
I want that one.
Okay, we're breaking our own rules here. Caillou wasn't around in the 70s or 80s, but he definitely earned his spot on this list through sheer psychological damage that he's inflicted on Gen X parents in the late 90s and 2000s. See, we survived a lot of annoying cartoon characters as kids, and we thought we were safe. Then came Parenthood, and PBS Kids unleashed Caillou in 1997.
I want it now, Mommy! I want to pack my suitcase now.
Well, the sooner we pack, the sooner we leave.
He's 4 years old, bald as a cue ball, and armed with the emotional regulation of a soggy napkin in a thunderstorm. This kid has whined about everything. His socks felt weird, his juice was the wrong color, his sister just existed, and somehow our toddlers were glued to him like he was the guru of emotional meltdowns. The show claimed to be about helping kids process emotions, but in reality, it was like handing your toddler a megaphone for their worst impulses and calling it growth. One critic called Caillou quite possibly the world's most universally reviled children's program, and I have to agree, as well as a whole lot of others. He was whiny, spoiled, and never seemed to face consequences, which for tired Gen X parents made him feel like less than a cartoon and more like a threat to household peace. On January 5th of 2021, PBS Kids quietly made the greatest announcement of all time on Twitter that they would no longer air reruns of this dang show.
No, Mommy! One more time, please!
All right, one more time.
Parents everywhere rejoiced. Deadline even reported that viewers celebrated his cancellation like it was a national holiday. Well, not really, but I definitely had a cold one when it happened. But alas, Caillou is a franchise with 9 lives. He got canceled and then rebooted because apparently the universe isn't done punishing us. Number 1, Scrappy-Doo. Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo. Now, y'all knew this was coming. Scrappy-Doo, who appeared in 1979, isn't just the most annoying cartoon character of the 70s and 80s, he's the gold standard of cartoon irritation across all decades, genres, and possibly all known dimensions. Puppy power! He'd yell before proceeding to destroy everything that made Scooby-Doo great in the first place. Where Scooby and Shaggy were lovable cowards who solved mysteries through a combination of dumb luck and snack-based motivation, Scrappy was aggressively heroic, impossibly confident, and completely convinced he was the star of the show. He wasn't funny, he wasn't helpful, and he sure wasn't even cute in that annoying but endearing kind of way that some cartoon sidekicks managed to pull off. We're looking at you, Snarf. He was just there, sucking up screen time like a tiny animated black hole, turning every mystery into the Scrappy show featuring some other characters. The original Scooby-Doo formula worked because it was about friendship, teamwork, and the satisfying reveal that the monster was usually just some guy in a mask with a real estate scheme. Scrappy turned it into a show about an obnoxious puppy who wanted to fight everything while his uncle cowered in fear. To be fair, this is exactly what a pit bull would do as a puppy. But here's the beautiful part. When they made the live-action Scooby-Doo movie in 2002, they made Scrappy the villain. That wasn't a plot twist. That was the screenwriters acknowledging what we'd all known for decades. That Scrappy wasn't comic relief, he was the enemy of fun itself, and the fact that a cartoon character from 1979 became such a universally recognized symbol of annoyance that his name became shorthand for unnecessary and irritating addition to an established franchise tells you everything you need to know. Jump the Shark has nothing on Pool Scrappy. And there you have it, our countdown of cartoon characters who annoyed 80s kids. Did we miss any? Let us know in the comments, because apparently you guys love to see me suffer and want a part 2 of this, I'm sure of it. Don't forget to like this video if it brought back some painful memories, subscribe for more trips down nostalgia lane, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest deep dive into retro TV shows. Until next time, this is Remember When telling you that you don't have to remember these annoying sidekicks, just had to tolerate them back then.